Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to the React Native Expo Mastery series. In today's episode, we are going to explore how to work with lists in React Native using flat list and Sectionalist. These components are essential for displaying data in a structured and efficient way. But before we dive in, let's go break down why these components are so important and how they work. Alright, so I hope you have subscribed our channel and you are following up this playlist, and I've already uploaded 3 videos of this, and this is the third episode of this series. Alright, so great. This is which we created yesterday. Now let me just delete all of this. Great, so let's create a boilerplate and let me just remove this up. Let's import view and have a text saying flat list, and let me just import text up here. If I just save this up, you can just see the flat list is being written. So let me just style it quickly. Great, so let's just start seeing what is flat list. So let me just import this component up here, and after this text, let's start using the flat list. So let's have flat list. So what does flat list takes, right? So flat list, you take 3 components. First one is data, right? So what is data? It refers to what is your data to be displayed, right? And make sure that it should only be an array, and it is being usually already stored under a variable. Great, so I take data, and it would take one property which is render item. So what does it do? So it simply takes one thing which is item, right? So item, and it tells us, it helps us to style what we wanna display. And there's one more property which is key extractor. It is the less used thing inside flat list, and it is mainly used under complex projects, right, where we need the help of on change or on press function to do some task. Great, so these 3 properties does the flat list take, and this is not necessary, right? Great, so let's just start by creating this data. So for this we need to create a pen variable. So let's create a new variable. Let's say this to be data, or you could just simply give this any name, and inside this we are just going to give some objects. Let's say first one to have 2 objects inside it. So let's say first one is id and the second one is name, right? So you can just use list for anything, like to storing name, or to storing some categories, to storing your grades, to storing your subject, or anything you want to go with. For this particular example, I'm using to store some couple of names. Let's say my first name is 11, and I'll just simply copy up this and create one more. Let's say give it 2. Let's say this to be max, and I will just create a bunch of this. Great, so I create a bunch of objects, and you could just simply see it. I have unique ID in every object, right? So just make sure you are giving unique ID in every object, and the ID isn't being repeating, right? Great, so our variable data is being created, which is basically an array. So let's just put it inside it. So there is one property called as data, and this data just take an array, right? So just make sure it to take only array. So what is we want up here is this data which we created up here, right? So it's not necessary that you give the variable name to be data only. So whatever you are just giving up here, just make sure this and this are both same. So if I'll just save this up, you can see nothing is being displayed because I haven't rendered any item yet, right? So let's go with render item, which is our second property. So it do take item, as I said, as an object, and it has the arrow function. So inside this arrow function I have to tell like how I have to display. So for now I'm using text, right? So you just use anything, text, button, or anything which is necessary for your project. So inside this text I'm just gonna use this curly braces, as I does not want to display static text here. So I want to display from variables. So I'll just simply say item dot, because I want, what does I want, right? I want an ID or the name, right? So I'll just say name, and if I just save this up, you can see I get everything which is presented inside the name, right? So if you just simply give only the item, so it will not display properly here, because you need to specify, right, what you want inside this item which you have created here, right? The ID and the name. So these both are also variables. So you just change this to task or title, anything you want. Just make sure every time it's same. So let's say if I just say up here ID, and if I just save this up, you will see here it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and if I just uncomment this, so you can see here we have the name, then we have this ID. Let's remove this ID, and if I just save this up, you just see here, let's style this text a bit. Great. So this was flat list, but it's not ended up here. We have defined the render item, but we haven't used key extractor yet. Yet it's not necessary to use, as I said, because instead of this also the code is running well. So but let's see what's key extractor. So if I just go with key extractor, it takes item and index, and up here it says item plus index. If I just save this up, you will not see any of the changes, but this is how key extractor do work, right? Great. So now let's look at the section list component. While flat list is great for simple lists, section list is perfect when you need to display data in sections or groups, like a contact list where names are grouped by the first letter. Here's how to use section list. So let's start by importing the section list and having here two. Now it will take 4 properties. So first one is sections, it's same to data. Then we have render item, which we have already been saw, and we have key extractor, and then we have render section header. So let's start by creating another variable. Let's say this to const, and let's say data to be equal to, and let's now give it some variables, right? Some objects. So the first one is ID, and inside the ID we are showing fruits. Great. So what I have done up here is I created a variable which is const data, and inside this I have one object, right? Inside this I have the sub object which is data, and inside this we have couple of elements. So let me just change the variable name because it is gonna be same. So let's say this to be, I guess, section or anything you want to just give up. Now this is the one object. Let's create another object. Let's just put the ID to be vegetables. So this is the data for vegetables, and this is the data for fruits, and you can of course add more sections up here. Now what I'm gonna use up here is I'll just simply go to section list, and inside the section let's use this section property, right? So as I told you, it's similar to the data, so I'll just put up here the variable which I've created here, and then we have render item to render the item, right? So I'll just say render item, and let's have up here item, and let's use this arrow function and simply like what we did in previously. I will just say text, and this time I will not specify, I'll simply just say item. And if I just come up here, you can just see all of the item is being here. And if I just style this a bit, great, so this is up here. And what if I just wanna have the main heading up here? So for that I have to use this render section header. Have this property render section header, and this is just similar to the render item, right, which I just created up here. The main difference is here, like here I was just giving the item, but inside this render section header I will just giving this variable name. So let's give this section, and I will just use arrow function similar to render items, and inside this I will have a text, and let's just say this to be section dot id. And if I just save this up, you will just see this id is being displayed up here. So let's style this a bit too. Alright, so this is how it's looking. This is the section list, and I hope you understand both the flat list and section list. And if you have any doubts, so you could just ask me in the comment section. That's it for today's episode. We have covered how to work with lists using flat list and section lists, which are powerful tools for rendering and managing data in your app. Make sure to experiment with these components and get comfortable with them, as they are essential for many React Native projects. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode, where we will diving into navigation between screens with React Navigation. Thanks for watching. See you next time.